And so we started talking about bear spray right around the same time that Rob made the contact for doing these trainings. And I asked Rob, I said, you know, I'm an EMT, and I've been talking to the chief about protocols for what happens when somebody gets accidentally comes in contact with bear spray, and you have all these negative consequences. And the chief said, well, we really don't have any protocols. So they're looking online, doing some research, and there aren't any really good specific protocols for what you do when somebody comes in accidental contact with bear spray, or not so accidental contact. And the chief said that about twice a year that we get a 911 call for somebody who's been basically compromised by bear spray, and the fire department responds. And so with Chief Mike Noakes, Scott Doty, who's the paramedic trainer, and then we enlisted the services of an ophthalmologist from Spokane. We worked on some protocols for what to do when somebody gets sprayed with bear spray. Has anybody been sprayed with bear spray or had the consequences? Maybe been sprayed by law enforcement or in law enforcement training?
Well, I've been there when somebody else did that.
What was it like?
Yeah, so we'll describe what you saw.
You couldn't breathe, you couldn't see very good.
Right. Lots of mucus production. So basically mucus comes out of everywhere. Eyes burn. First reaction when eyes burn is to rub them. If you came across somebody, let's say on your job throughout the county, or a family trip, and you're hiking, and you came across somebody who's been compromised with bear spray, what are you going to do for them? What are the things that you?
You'd probably take off the clothing that had been exposed to chemical, and then you'd want to flush their eyes out and get them out of the affected area so they can get some fresh air.
So you're going to flush with whatever water source that may be there or what you have. Okay. What else? Any ideas what you're going to do?
Make sure the scene is safe, the bear is gone.
That's right. Good. That's the first one. Good. So I'm going to pass out. We'll pass out the protocols, and we'll talk about that, and then I'm going to demonstrate my good buddy here, choking Charlie. So if you guys don't mind helping pass those out, appreciate it. So as an EMT, you're right. The first thing is make sure that the scene is safe. If somebody sprayed bear spray, you want to make sure that it wasn't because the bear was in the vicinity. First thing you want to do is move that person to fresh air, clean air. Two things with bear spray is that air and time are your friends. So it takes time, 20 to several hours, 20 minutes to several hours for the bear spray to actually stop the activation. And then fresh air, so getting them to fresh air, removing any clothing or packs, anything, equipment they may have on them that may have been compromised. If they have contacts, you want to get them to, as painful as it's going to be, to get those contacts out because they can actually trap the capsaicin oil between the eye and the lens, and that intensifies. You want to get them to blink and to continue to blink even when you're rinsing. We'll talk about rinsing in a second. And I don't have any problems with Charlie because he can't rub his eyes, and you want to keep that person calm and then keep them from actually rubbing the eyes, because the pepper spray is an oil-based capsaicin, about 2% concentration. And within that capsaicin are actually small pepper granules. And so when that oil is in the eyes and you go to rub, you're actually creating kind of irritations, and can actually create basically micro lesions in the eye. So you don't want somebody to be rubbing that into the eye. And then with flushing, regular water is fine for the rest of the body. Trying to keep it from getting in contact. One of the tips that Scott Doty had was when you're rinsing somebody, kind of the gross rinsing, that you want them to lean forward, because otherwise the capsaicin oil is going to come down and penetrate, and the groin area is very sensitive also to capsaicin. So you want them to lean forward when they're rinsing. And the other thing is that the ophthalmologist had suggested that we put into the protocol is the use of a sterile saline solution for the eyes. And when you use the sterile saline solution, they're going to lean forward, and if you're going to work on the right eye, you go from the bridge of the nose to out, and have them keep blinking while you're flushing that through. And then do the other eye as well. One of the things that we're recommending in the protocols is that folks carry some kind of a sterile saline solution if you're backpacking with a group, or maybe something if you want to add to your first aid kits in your trucks, just so that you have it there. And it's important that it be sterile, because again, because of those the pepper not wanting to introduce any bacteria or fungi to eyes that are already irritated and compromised. The other thing to keep in mind is airway, because it's difficult to breathe when you come in contact with the bear spray. We heard a few of us coughing even outside when we were using the inert, but it gets into your lungs if you've got a cold or anything that's already compromising your airway, or if you're asthmatic. The impact of the bear spray can actually create more difficulty in breathing. And from an EMT standpoint, one of the things we tell them is to make sure that they're constantly monitoring the person for their airway, making sure that they're able to breathe well. If not, then you need to get them to help, or get help to them as quickly as possible. So also, if the irritation continues, or if there's any signs of compromised airway, difficulty breathing, seek a medical treatment as quick as possible. Some of the don'ts on the back: don't rub eyes, don't apply any kind of a dressing that's just going to keep that capsaicin oil next to the skin or to the eyes, and you don't want to get exposed again to the clothing or equipment that already has the capsaicin on there. So bagging, using garbage bags, something to keep that capsaicin from coming back into the person. Again, part of the personal protective equipment, if you carry rubber gloves, gloves in your first aid kit, you'd want to put those on before you get in, because I can tell you as a contact wearer, sometimes if I have a sandwich that has jalapenos on it for lunch, when I go to take my contacts out at the end of the day, if I haven't completely gotten that capsaicin oil from that hot pepper off, I know that my eye burns for 20 or 30 minutes. So, and that's just a small percentage of the capsaicin that would be left from the hot pepper. Nothing near what's going to be in a pepper spray. So, any questions about the protocols? These are just some first aid tips. This isn't a full publication yet. We got some good feedback last night. It's going to go through our WSU publication system, and we'll let you know when it's out for full publication. But you're some of the first folks to see this. Any questions or comments? The other thing that I'm going to recommend you do is that if you are going to carry bear spray, then I recommend that you practice the first aid skills for treating somebody who's been compromised by bear spray. Just like we do in the fire service, we learn it and we practice it and we practice it and we practice it, just so that when you have to use that skill, that it's something that's in that muscle memory and that mental memory that you can just go ahead and do. So I know that after preparing for this, that this is now part even of my backpacking first aid kit. Even though it weighs, got some heft to it, I think it's worthwhile to have some sterile liquid for a number of different kind of first aid issues, but especially for if you're going to carry bear spray, be prepared to do what you can to help alleviate as many of those symptoms as quickly as you possibly can. Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.